Well, hello everybody. Welcome to our presentation tonight. Deep dive into dark money, big money, and campaign finance. If you are watching, you can watch on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and even on our website at eladgross.org/eladpod right now. And we've already got a hello from Denise. So hello, Denise. Great to see you too. Thanks for coming. So welcome, everybody. Very excited today to discuss one of the big issues that I've been talking about for quite some time, dark money. And so today we're going to go through quite a bit, so I'll have an outline for you and everything else. If you have any questions as we go along, this is going to be a very interactive presentation. Feel free to put your comments in on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, wherever you're watching from, and I'll be marking them down as I see them come in. I'll try to answer them as we go, as it makes sense. And then at the end, we'll actually be doing a lot of work together. So I'll show you how to look into campaign finance, how to look for dark money, ways that we can combat it together as a public, and hopefully this will give you some tools to look at any campaign, not just ours and not just our race for Attorney General, but anyone that you're interested in, and hopefully bring some accountability back to our system. So this will be up for any of you who have friends who can't make it right now or can't watch. This will be up later, so it will be saved and you'll be able to watch it anytime. So, for those of you who do not know, my name is Elad Gross. I am running for Attorney General of Missouri. I am a former Assistant Attorney General of the state. Served there until about the end of 2016. I've also served as a special public defender for the state of Missouri. I was involved in a lot of justice reform and still am in a lot of justice reform issues in the state. I'm also one of the nation's lead investigators into dark money. We need a whole lot more, but I'm one of them. And I've done a lot of work in education for over 13 years now. So I've been teaching for a good long time here in Missouri. And that's what first got me involved in public service, got me involved in looking into all of this government and everything else. And it's what really has driven me crazy about dark money, and you're about to find out why. I feel very strongly that our government is unfortunately not serving us. It's serving people with a lot of money and power, and that is making the policies that we pass in our state and in our country a lot worse for folks like us. And I think that's a big thing that we need to change, and it's something that the Attorney General of this state should be changing right now. So I'll explain that in a little bit, but let me walk you through. So if you don't know anything about campaign finance or dark money, we can get you started. So I will show you what we'll be working on today. First, I'll give you a general overview of campaign finance. Second, we'll look at exactly what dark money is. Third, we'll look at a case study, and I'll use my campaign for Attorney General because there's been dark money spending already. And then four, we'll explore together. So first, I will show you how this looks in our race, but then I'll take you through all the tools online so that you can use them too. And if you've got any questions, we can even explore a few together. So, great. So let's start. First one is an intro to campaign finance. So campaign finance in Missouri and in many states is oftentimes set up through an ethics committee. So in Missouri, we have a Missouri Ethics Commission. That's the MEC. You also hear about the FEC, which is the federal version of the same thing. And if you go to mec.mo.gov, that's where a lot of this information is. And we'll actually go there later on in this presentation. I'll show you exactly how it works. But at the end of each quarter, all of us candidates, we've got to file reports, and those reports go into this system, into this database, and you can see it online. And the idea is we should be able to see where candidates' money is coming from. We should know who is trying to give them a ton of money and why, and that should allow us to hold folks accountable. Transparency is required for accountability. That's the idea behind all of this stuff. So, in general, campaign finance in Missouri goes through two kinds of different accounts. One of them is a candidate account, when we're talking about candidates who are running for election. Candidates have their own committee. So when you see paid for by, in this case, Elad Gross for Missouri, you know who's paying for that advertisement. It's right there. It's listed out. You can go and you can contact them. You see who the treasurer is, and you can search online, and you can find who that person is, and where that money's going. Okay? So if you come here to the candidate side, you'll see that there are limits. There are limits in terms of how much you can donate to a candidate during an election. In the case of my election, this is true for all statewide offices in Missouri. The maximum that people can contribute, an individual can contribute, is $2,650 per election. So for all of you folks who have a whole ton of money and are looking to give it to somebody, you can give that once before the primary, that's election number 1, and then once before the general, that's election number 2. So that's $2,650 per. There are campaign contribution limits. We, the people of Missouri, actually voted to put those on in 2016. There was a period there where we had no campaign contribution limits at all to candidates. So you could give unlimited money, as much as you wanted, directly to the candidates committee. And that led to some problems, but unfortunately we still have a lot of problems because we didn't plug all of the holes. So if you look at the candidate committee, you also see corporate money is not supposed to go directly to a candidate. There's a lot of reasons for that, including conflict of interest, and you're supposed to do your job and represent people. But that's also an inclusion in the restrictions there. You'll see on the right side of the screen there is the PAC. The PAC, a political action committee, that has a lot more flexibility. The PAC is, as you can see on the top, it's not supposed to coordinate with a campaign committee, but a lot of candidate committees, a lot of candidates have their own PACs. And they're not supposed to, hey, I'm not the one who runs the PAC. In Missouri, oftentimes your best friend does. And your best friend is somehow not supposed to coordinate with you, even if they know exactly what you'd like them to do. But in a weird twist in Missouri, for some reason, those two organizations, the PAC committee and the candidate committee, they can fundraise together. So you might go to an event and there might be somebody who says, hey, look, I'm the candidate. You should give me all the money in the world, but up to the limit, $2,650. When you're done donating to me, and there's this PAC that I'm not coordinating with, you can give them unlimited amounts of money. So go ahead and do that. Oh, and also, if you're a corporation, you can give as much money to the PAC as you want to. And then the PAC is, if it supports a candidate, it is supposed to spend independently from the candidate themselves. It's a strange situation, and one that, as we will see, and as we have seen in Missouri, one that unfortunately allows folks to get unlimited donations from corporations, from individuals, from just about every source, including from dark money organizations. And it has, unfortunately, allowed those who have a lot of money and power keep all of that money and power and perpetuate it over and over again. And that's why oftentimes our policies are so geared towards folks who have money and power. So that's how campaign finance in general is working in Missouri. It's very true also in different states, and at the federal level, you see very similar situations there too. In Missouri, I mentioned the Missouri Ethics Commission, the MEC. The MEC does not have much power to police a lot of the violations that already do go on. They've written advisory opinions. Sometimes they can fine folks, but the enforcement mechanism there is not very strong. And as long as people are in power who can enforce the law, aren't really interested in doing it because they're benefiting from the system, we haven't seen much change. Hopefully we'll see more as folks demand it. And obviously, like I mentioned before, we have used the initiative petition in Missouri to put on reforms to our election system. So that's another way to get a lot of these reforms through as well. So let's talk about dark money. What is dark money? So dark money is still within the same political framework, but it works a little bit differently. So dark money consists of these huge anonymous campaign contributions. You don't know who's donating, you don't know where they're from, and you don't know what they want. You just know that they're giving money to something or someone. It goes to a whole lot of different areas in our political system. It can be used to lobby for legislation, so it can be used to actually influence policy directly in Missouri and change the law. It's oftentimes used on campaign ads. If you see those wonderful advertisements that say, paid for by Missourians for Sunshine, and you wonder, what the heck is Missourians for Sunshine? You go and you look it up and you don't find much information. It's dark money. So you can't really see where it's coming from. It can also go to candidates, and that can go oftentimes through these PACs that then support the candidates, but sometimes it goes directly to them as well, as long as it's within the limits. You also see it affect ballot initiatives. So that's another way that it can influence elections as well. And oftentimes you'll see a lot of dark money go to so-called think tanks. So there are organizations that are set up oftentimes by very wealthy people who have seeded the organizations or whatever it might be. They put out papers. There have been quite a few of these organizations that have come about from dark money donations and are currently being used to influence policy and come off as, these folks are experts in foreign policy or whatever it might be. And so, a lot of this money actually goes, a lot of this anonymous money in our political system goes to think tanks. So those are the big areas where dark money goes into. Here is how dark money compares to these normal contributions I've been mentioning before. So at the top, you'll see that if you're a political donor, you've got money, you give money to a candidate or the PAC if you're trying to support a candidate. Then that information is reported, and we can all see it. It's transparent, it's online, we see where the money comes from, and we can all, argue about it, criticize, do whatever you want, put it in an ad, whatever it is. Dark money has one more step, just one more step in this whole process. So you'll see at the bottom there, right where it says fake corporation, you'll see it right here. So donor gives to a fake corporation. I put that in gold so you can see it a little bit easier. And then the money then goes to the candidate or the PAC. The donor, the original donor in this whole setup, is never reported. All you see is the name of this corporation. This fake corporation gave to the candidate, so the candidate never has to reveal the original source of that donation. You don't have any transparency, and you have no accountability. That's the problem with dark money. So a dark money corporation can take a couple of different paths, I guess, to get there, but also different forms. One of them is oftentimes through these political nonprofit organizations. So that's what a lot of these organize as, and the reason is because they get tax benefits. So you're probably familiar with a lot of service organizations out there. They are tax-exempt organizations. Oftentimes, these organizations that do service in the community, a whole bunch of different ones that you can think of locally that maybe you volunteer for, they're often organized as what's called 501c3 organizations. If you look at a dark money organization, you'll see they are organized as 501c4 nonprofit organizations. So it's within the same section of the law under the revenue code, but it's different in terms of what capabilities they have. So for a C4 organization, if you donate to the C4, your money that you donated is not tax deductible for you. But they still benefit, the organization still benefits from a lot of tax-exempt status and a lot of benefits from local governments, from state governments, and from the federal government as well. They don't have to disclose any of their donors. We never see the names of any of these donors that are going to 501c4s. Not too long ago, so I run a 501c3 for kids. That's how I've been teaching. And when I applied to be a 501c3 nonprofit organization, we had to fill out a whole bunch of paperwork. and the paperwork was long. You had to send in a whole bunch of money over to the IRS, and you sat there and you prayed that it would come back successful so that I could teach kids math. If you just want to buy an election, then you apply for 501c4 status, and you don't have to fill out all that paperwork. Instead, you go online, you fill out something that takes about 2 minutes, you pay $50, and congratulations, you have self-declared as a 501c4 nonprofit organization that can now spend money in our elections. A 501c4 is supposed to be limited in that its primary purpose is supposed to be towards advocacy and not towards doing electioneering. The problem with that is that folks have found ways around that by defining what their activity is or whatever it might be. But the primary purpose, what does that mean? What does that mean? The majority of it? Yeah, it actually means just the slight majority of what you're doing has to be in the advocacy framework. So you make sure that, half of your stuff is advocacy stuff that at least looks like it. Maybe you're talking about an issue, and then you happen to be talking about a candidate who's doing well on that issue or not doing well. And then you spend the rest of your money supporting the candidate that you like. It's not well regulated at all. And now the problem is when you fill out your 501c4 status, and then you've got to fill out these tax returns every year and tell them what you're doing. You're supposed to do that. When you do and you fill it out and you send it in, the IRS asks you for a list of your biggest donors. It's above a certain threshold for nonprofit organizations. And so the current administration, the federal administration, decided that requirement was too burdensome for nonprofits. You still have to keep that paperwork, but now you don't have to send it into the IRS anymore because it's too burdensome. If you're a 501c4, if you're a 501c3, it might be burdensome, but too bad. You still have to turn in that same paperwork. So if you are teaching kids math, you still have to file the names of your big donors, and then that is held over at the IRS. They can see it in case there's any foreign influence or whatever might be, illegal stuff. Not the case anymore with 501c4 political organizations. That was a recent decision that came out just a few months ago from the IRS, and that's where we are right now. So if you look here, the other alternative for these fake corporations is to just be a for-profit corporation. You do not get the benefits of being tax exempt, but you do have the benefit of not having to show who the heck is giving you money. So that is still an issue. You just go through an LLC, a limited liability corporation, some other form of a corporation, whatever you want, and you're still never revealing anything. There is actually another path that you could go through this too, where you can go through an individual and give that individual a whole bunch of your money and have them then donate for you. I guess that could happen. I'm sure that has happened in places, but the big avenues here are going through corporations, going through nonprofit corporations, and then in Missouri, donating to PACs, and other states and other locations donating to whatever can take unlimited funds. So let me show you how this actually works. I'll show you a case study using our race for Attorney General, and hopefully that will help you find where this stuff is coming from. So in our race for Attorney General, I'll give you some compare and contrast between what we've been fundraising versus what the current Attorney General is fundraising. So this is from the last quarter, and you can see up on the left side, you see our numbers and everything else, and on the right side, you see the current Attorney General. Now, some things might jump out pretty quickly at you if you're watching. One of them is, wow, well, he's raised a bit more money, but then you look down, you said he's got a lot fewer donors than you have. And that's why the average donation size for us is $32.98. The average donation for him is $773. This is just looking at his candidate committee. He also has a PAC, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But if you just look at the candidate committees, what money is going to each candidate directly, we've had 800 donations to his 68. The occupations that are represented, because you have to report where folks work who are donating, that's a lot higher for us. And the zip codes, we're representing a lot more of the state as well. So all of that all of those numbers are higher other than the average donation and the total amount that's been raised so far, which is an unfortunate truth in America right now with a lot of these kinds of campaigns. So if you look at what's been happening over the course of the entire campaign, you'll see, again, the same exact pattern. Less money total raised, but again, way more donations coming in. His average is over $1,100 for his average donation. Ours is $45.79. We have a lot more occupations and folks from different walks of life that are represented and folks from all over the state. Yet still, he's able to raise a whole bunch of money. And you might wonder, well, that's not great. That's sad. And if you just look at these numbers here, I'm a very strong believer that in campaign finance and fundraising and all of this, it's not that you need the most amount of money, it's that you need enough money to get the job done. But if somebody else has a lot more money than you, they're able to crowd out the whatever it might be, get their message out a whole lot more. And so we'll talk a bit about that too and what that looks like. But if you look at his PAC, you'll see a lot more money has been raised there. And that's because it can take unlimited contributions. So just look at the number of donations that have come into that PAC. 121 donations, $1.85 million. All right, and just in case you forgot, for comparison's sake, look at his entire campaign. He's had 550 donations for way less money. The PAC is where he's getting a ton of money coming through, the average donation being over $15,000 for his campaign. And this is where you see a lot of corporate money coming in and a lot of dark money coming in too. So over $500,000 in corporate money and $61,000 in dark money. And that's what I've been able to identify so far. Oftentimes, it's hard to identify where the dark money starts and where it ends. Well, you might be wondering, where is all this corporate money coming from and what's being represented? Well, fortunately, when it's not dark money, we can actually see where the industries, what the names of the corporations are that are donating there. So in this instance, there's donations coming in from payday lenders. There's a corporation called Torch Electronics, which has been putting up these gambling machines and gas stations that have been declared illegal by our state gaming officers, and our attorney general should be regulating them. He's not, and you might wonder why. Developers that the attorney general had been investigating, was under active investigations, had taken money from them as well. And then a lot of folks who have been connected either through legal representation or through their companies themselves to dark money spending in Missouri. So that's where a lot of the corporate money is coming from. Now, if you look at the corporate money and you add that up with the dark money and you're looking and there's still a big chunk of money missing, and you're just, where is that coming from? Well, in this situation, it is coming from one individual. I'll give you a second in case you'd like to guess at home with me. And if you've guessed correctly, you'll now see the answer, and that person is Rex Sinquefield. Rex Sinquefield has given the Attorney General $750,000 that we know of. Some more money might be flowing somewhere else. We don't know because of this dark money, but that's a whole lot of money. Certainly his biggest individual donor. One of those checks, so these come in 3 different checks for $250,000. One of them came when Rex Sinquefield, who is a billionaire in the St. Louis area, made a lot of money through the stock market early on. He gave a very big contribution to the Attorney General's PAC shortly after he submitted an initiative petition for approval by the Attorney General to be circulated. For those of you in the St. Louis area, you're probably familiar with the Better Together issues that eventually led to a lot of corruption prosecutions, frankly. And a lot of this money was tied up there, and it came to our Attorney General as well, right as he was supposed to be, whether approving this language or not, I suppose. So that's where a lot of this money is coming from, and it's in a whole bunch of different sources, but you can see a lot of these sources online right now, and I'm going to show you how to do that in just a bit. So I don't want you to be depressed. I'm going to show you something because I want you to know that we are fighting this stuff very hard. And what's been very fortunate so far in this campaign is that people in Missouri agree. In general, we agree we shouldn't have dark money. We don't want corruption in our government. We don't want spending like this. We do not want people buying our state from us. And so we've been putting a message out there from the very beginning. I've been traveling a whole lot up until the recent outbreak, and we've been doing a whole lot of organizing work with folks all throughout the state. Many of you are probably watching right now, which is great. But we have a huge volunteer base. And so is there a way to defeat this stuff? And I'm going to show you some great numbers here that we pulled up for you because I didn't want you to be so sad. So we have an extremely efficient campaign as a result of being on the right side of this issue. If you just look at what we're doing on Facebook, and I know a lot of you are watching on Facebook, you might be watching on Twitter or YouTube, wherever you are, let us know. But you will see how effective we have been so far. And this has been really great. It's been something that's allowed us to get that message out for a lot less than what all of these other folks have to pay to get it done. So you can see that we can reach 1,000 Missourians on Facebook for just $5 right now because of the message that we have and because of how people have interacted with it. Our goal before the primary election is to reach to have 800,000 reaches just in the state of Missouri. And so we can do that. I mean, right here, you just do the math yourself, but I did it for you, so you don't have to worry about it, but it's $4,000 total is the goal. Texting is a very big way for us to get involved with folks, and that is a great way for us to directly do it. We actually have text parties that people have been participating on where we all talk while we're doing it and hang out, and I'm able to answer questions as they come up. But it's been a great way for us to interact with Missourians directly, answer questions, and I'm able to introduce myself to a whole lot of people that way. And so just to text 1,000 folks, we are able to do that for $68. And our goal before the primary, again, which is on August 4th, is to send out 500,000 texts in Missouri. Look, if you don't like text, that's okay. You just tell us and we take you off. Heck, I believe in the do not call list and no spamming. We've got a plan to take on big spammers in our state too as Attorney General. But this is a great way for us to reach folks in a very safe way without knocking doors and really having some serious conversations. And when we text, what's really great is we ask folks for their ideas. We talk to them about dark money and the issues that we're seeing in our government. We talk to them about different ways that the Attorney General should be acting right now to protect our right to vote, to protect our workers, to make sure, I don't know if any of you have been following, but what's been happening in Milan, Missouri with the Smithfield plant and so many other meat processing plants right now, that we should have our public safety, our families protected, and our Attorney General needs to do his job in so many different ways. Protecting our health care. All of these things we talk about while texting with folks, which is a great way to do it. So that's the big bulk of what our spending is our goal is to go to, because it's such a great way for us to connect with people, get their ideas, get their input, and then put that into practice. And so, yeah, I'm on all of those text banks, and you're very welcome to come. Just go to the website, and I'll show you that later, but you can sign up for our texting and like us on Facebook if you're watching, because we put a whole lot of stuff out there. Follow us on Twitter, wherever you are. Subscribe and do it, because we always put our notices out pretty regularly, and we're actually organizing another text bank right now. Mail. So you can see right now we've invested a little bit less, or we're planning to invest a little bit less in mail, because we're trying to find out who we would need to reach that we wouldn't be able to reach by cell phone, because we're trying to do this as efficiently as possible. And as you can see, cell phone and Facebook, all of these things are a bit more efficient than the mail. We do want to invest a lot in our mail. The USPS needs our support, and so we always use them as much as we can. For all of our things, we ship out a whole bunch of stuff. If you'd like to buy some swag and stuff from the t-shirts and everything else, we've got those up on the website too, and so we get those in the mail as well. And that's really important. But we are trying to target that to folks, especially before the primary, who need that contact by mail versus these electronic means, because of the constraints that we're under compared to folks who are taking a lot of dark money or big money contributions. So that's what's happening now. And then finally, and the most important thing in all of this is our staffing. We have wonderful folks who are working on this campaign. You know it if you've interacted with them. They are so responsive. They spend so much of their time making sure that people's voices are heard and making sure that our events go well, that we are serving people in our community, that we're connecting with organizations and nonprofits doing important work right now. We could not do anything without them, and we pay $15 per hour minimum for all of our staff members. Obviously there's all the payroll tax, all of these other things that are attached to it. But this is what we are looking to do through the primary, and that will give us a very good base going into the general. So those are our goals right there. If you're interested in helping out the campaign, please do. You can go to eladgross.org and you can donate right there on the website. That would be awesome if you can. Even if you can't and you'd love to get involved, still go to the website. There's a volunteer button and do that, and we'd love to get you in. All right, so now I'm going to take you to how in the world do we look into all of this dark money and all this big money that's being spent in these campaigns. Where do we go? So I'm going to take you to a browser. You can even follow along with me if you'd like to open up your new tab, but let me take you to mine that's open right now. So here's our wonderful, lovely website that I just mentioned before. So first, we're going to start with the Missouri Ethics Commission, and that is at mec.mo.gov. There's a whole lot of ways to use this website. I prefer a certain way to search it, but there's no really wrong way. I would tell you that you would really like to explore this site as much as you can, because the more you use it, the easier it becomes really for you to use. But let me find. So if you start at the top here, okay, this is the landing page. I'm scrolling down, and at the bottom you'll see this tab here that says searches, and there's a whole bunch of different links for you to click on and use and everything else. One way to look for, if you know a candidate or a committee that you're looking for, you can go directly to them right here. You click on their name. You click on that search tab, candidate's name, me, Elad. Just press enter. And on a lot of these, you'll see like the same thing kind of open up. And this website could use a little bit of work, but something will have updated. You'll have felt that something updated. So here you just scroll down and you will see, oh, there's the committee. And I was like, well, I'd like to see some information on that. Right here is the record, the MEC ID. So each of these committees has their own ID number. And when you click on that ID number, it will take you into the page for the committee. And there you can see, all of this information, everything else. We try to be as transparent as possible. You can see what they're running for, statement of committee organization, which is just basically me signing and saying, hey, I'm running for office. And then the reports are where you really want to look at. So if you click here on the reports, you'll see electronic reports and you'll see the years. When you click on the little arrow thing right by the year, you'll see, oh, there they are. A whole bunch of reports come up. You'll see two different kinds of reports. Usually, one of them is the quarterly report, and sometimes you'll see an amended quarterly report. Afterwards, unless you're doing a real deep dive, usually you just look at the amended one, and some changes can be made. For example, in our case, we had some folks that if we didn't have their information in full, we then updated it with the MEC. There can be a whole lot of other reasons. If you left something off and you were supposed to put it on there, you can do that too. But yeah, in most of our cases, it was us correcting, like if an expense was listed incorrectly, just correcting that as soon as we found out, or if there was like a name that was misspelled or something like that. So you can look at all the different ones. When you click on one of these, click on that one, it's going to open into a new tab usually. Sometimes you might get like a pop-up blocker or something, so you'll have to allow it, but it takes some time. What this is doing, it's generating a report. What it's doing is it's actually going through the spreadsheet, this database that they have, and they are generating a PDF file for you to look through. And so here it is. You'll see these pages. There's always a cover page right here telling you what this report is for, tell you when it was filed, everything else. So this is a great example of an amended report. It will give you the reasons why it was amended, so you can see right there at the beginning. And then you'll see here on the report summary, this is, if you're just looking for summary information, this is a great place to start to see where all that, just in general, where the money is and everything. But when you want to start looking for the names of donors, you'll keep scrolling down until you get to a page like this. So here you'll see pages and pages and pages and pages of folks, because we've had so many. We're so fortunate to have so many folks who have decided to donate, which is great. And what is really, really cool about this is that we have put this practice in of releasing the names of all of our donors, because we're very anti-dark money. Obviously, I've been talking about that for a little bit. We wanted to be as transparent as possible. And what's really great is after we started doing it, a lot of other candidates running for high-profile offices have decided to do the exact same thing. So thanks to the efforts of this campaign and all the folks who've been supporting it, we've actually made the election system in Missouri already, even with the drawbacks we talked about, way more transparent than it's ever been, which is really exciting. So it's something that we're really proud of here. So if you go back here, again, you can scroll through and you look for whatever you might be looking for. And on, I want to come back to this page here. You'll see, and this is one that's closer to the front. Sometimes you'll see itemized contributions. Sometimes you'll see on some of these lines, amount of money that was received as in-kind versus normal. So you can get a whole bunch of information here. What's really interesting here is lines 11 through, I think it's 14. Well, mostly through 13, really, is where you can see where was this money raised. So for fundraisers, if you've got a fundraising event, you actually reported a little bit differently. So, hey, we had a big event. We asked all of these people to come in, and we announced it, but they gave us money anyway. We didn't know. And you'll see anonymous contributions. So there are contributions that you can take legally. I mean, right now, even dark money, unfortunately, is illegal in a lot of situations. Big money contributions that are anonymous. But folks who are running, and they're doing it in all the right ways, they might get anonymous contributions that are under a certain threshold. They're not that much money. And they report it in those same lines right there that I was talking about. And there are limits on how much anonymous contributions you can take. So in this situation, you'll see, we took $40 anonymous campaign contributions. The reason that was low is so low, and you'll see on all of our reports it's a low number, is because we always tell folks, hey, we need your information because we're reporting everything transparently. That was our decision. We decided to make that because I've been fighting dark money so much in court and trying to really reform our system. That was a decision that I made early on. I don't fault folks for taking small amounts of money that is anonymous, but we didn't want to take any of it. So when you do see a number right here, you'll also see on the next report that we donate our anonymous campaign contributions. We initially donated to local schools throughout the state. We did that a few times. This last time, we actually donated to 8 nonprofit organizations throughout the state of Missouri that are working on COVID-19 response. And you can see those organizations if you're interested in giving. We try to help them out as much as possible at the website eladgross.org/COVID. And if you go there, you'll see those organizations that we chose to support and why. So wonderful organizations, literally from all across the state. So again, so this is the report. You can go through it. And when you get to the end, which is going to take a while in ours, but when you get to the end, what you will see, there it is. There's my little scrolly thing. Hold up. You will get to expenses. So you can see, we're spending money at different places and, payroll taxes, that sort of thing, advertising on Facebook, our email suite, our wonderful employees. You can see all of where that money is going as well, which I think is very important. And we try, I take all of our donations extremely seriously, which is why we are being so transparent. I think it's very important that you know where your donations are going. And we spend that money just like I showed you. That's why I put that screen up. I don't know how many candidates do that for you, but I think that's really important. And I think it's important for you to know what you're investing in, because this campaign is really about making Missouri work for all of us. And I think that's an investment that's really worth making. It's a really important one to make. And I think that if we have somebody in that office who's representing us and is showing that through a campaign that they will be representing us, I think that we need to do a lot of work in this state to earn the trust of so many folks, especially folks who have seen how broken the system is, have been really exploited by it. And we need somebody in our elected offices who we know is going to be there for us. And so that's why we're so transparent. I hope that's helpful, and I hope it's something that you can use as a resource too. And, from candidates from all over the spectrum, I hope that we can demand more of them as well. And, we're trying to be a model for folks, and we help candidates as much as we can, especially those who are interested in this as well. So back to this search. So this is what a normal report looks like. I want to show you a different way of searching that I think is pretty great, and it's the one that I use most often. So I'm going back. I could just go back to the home page. So we're back at the home page for the MEC. And as we go through, there's actually, I'll show you another search too. There's a contributions over $5,000 search down here too. If you click on that, these contributions have to be reported very quickly, within 48 hours. So it's something that I know some reporters, they check this just about every day. I check it pretty often. I think there's a Twitter account out there that tweets these out as they come in. But you'll see, look, here's, oh, great, wonderful. Well, this is good. I just did this with you. Great. So this is showing you a very big contribution that came in for a PAC called the Don't Tread on Mo PAC. It comes from the American Democracy Alliance, and I actually know about this spending because a lot of this money is going to a group called the Liberty Alliance USA, which is a dark money group in Missouri that has a lot of interaction with me on social media. It is one that actually came out of an old dark money organization that was founded and run by our former governor, Eric Greitens. And I'm happy to talk about that one any day of the week. But Eric Greitens he took a whole lot of dark money in his campaign for governor. There's dark money going all over the place, and he took a lot. He won, and he saw how effective this dark money stuff was. When he won, that was in 2016, that's when we put on these campaign contribution limits. So he can no longer take unlimited money directly to him as a candidate anymore. So he started a fake charity, called it a New Missouri Incorporated. It was a 501c4 dark money organization that he ran, that he used to push forward his agenda. He used it to bully state senators of his own party who disagreed with him because they wanted more ethics reform and he didn't. It was a problem, and that's actually how I got involved in investigating dark money, because I saw it attacking members of his own party, and it really, I didn't understand what the heck was going on, and I didn't know nonprofits could do that. So I looked a lot more into it, and I've been investigating it ever since. So fast forward a bit, and he's indicted for just about everything under the sun, but he's not going to quit. I guess he wants to be president or something one day. And this organization had been spending a whole lot of money on right to work. It had been taking in a lot of money from unknown donors, and he had been really interacting a lot with it, had staff members who were working all throughout this thing. And it looked like a pay-to-play scheme was happening in the governor's office. Well, his own party investigated, the Missouri State House investigated this fake charity. It was led by a member of his own party. That was the investigation that said that this thing was a fake charity designed to violate Missouri's campaign finance laws. And they went to a judge and they said, "Judge, we know we normally can't see the names of these donors. We really got to see them here because this looks like it's corruption in the governor's office." the judge said, okay, I'm going to order the nonprofit organization to reveal the names of its donors to you. And 2 hours later, the governor quit. That's how powerful this dark money stuff is. Like, it literally has that much control over our politicians right now that it led to his resignation. I eventually took that thing to court and fought that for quite some time. I'm still in court trying to get some transparency on dark money in Missouri. But this thing that I was just showing you, that is spending a whole lot of money in our state, is the successor organization to it, and they are trying to fix all of the mistakes that they made, and they're trying to come back even stronger than ever before. So consider this a warning to everybody out there. If you see something called the Liberty Alliance USA, I'd recommend asking them for the names of their donors. Maybe they'll change their mind. I don't know, but I'll keep talking. Anyway, so this is the contributions over $5,000 search. It's a great resource. Highly recommend it. You can check it every day. Check it whenever you want. You can go back and search it. The one that I use the most on here that a friend of mine taught me to use a few years ago is this one. It says Committee Contributions and Expenditures. Click on that. And this one gives you so many options. So it lets you, first you got to pick a year. Don't forget, you got to pick a year, and they got required stuff. It won't let you search if you do it. But you can search by individual name. You can search by business that's contributing. The advanced search tab over here, right here, that one I just clicked on, is the best because you don't necessarily have to look for a contributor. You can just look for a committee that is getting contributions. So, for example, let's use mine again. Oops, can't even spell my name on here. Okay. So I search. There's not too many Elad Grosses, so I don't have to worry about that. If you're looking for someone's last name, like if I put Gross, just Gross in here, you will see everybody who's got the name Gross, the word Gross, in their committee name. So you do want to be careful about doing that. But if you put the first and last name, unless it's like, John Smith or something, you're probably okay. The best way to do it, remember that MEC ID I told you about before? That is a unique number for everyone. So if you're just looking for that committee, want to be totally sure, go find their ID and then put that number in here. But, I'm a little unique in my name in the state of Missouri, so I'll press the search button. And now up here, I'm using Google Chrome. I have a pop-up that got blocked, so just be aware. You might see something move over here. You have to allow these pop-ups to come through. I don't know why I continue blocking them from here, but I just do, and I've gotten used to it. So I click here, and it will open into a sheet, okay? And so now this looks very different from what we looked at before. This doesn't really look like a PDF, and you might be thinking, well, goodness gracious, this would be great if I could have this as an Excel document. Well, check it out right here. There's a button right here at the top that says Export Results to Excel. And it sure will, and it will download, and you can open it up, and you can play around with it. You can color code. You can do whatever you want. It's pretty great. So I'm on my browser now. I won't mess you too much with that. But yeah, that's the MEC. So let me give you an example of how I did a look, and not just me, actually a reporter with the St. Louis Post-Dispatch did a really good look at the Attorney General's race and some money that was being spent. So the Attorney General Missouri, through his PAC, took a donation from the EC1 Fund, LLC. I'd never heard of that thing before. Still don't quite know everything it does. It donated to the candidate. And I saw it, and I'm like, well, I can't tell who the contributor is. I don't know much about this business. There's no website for them. I don't know. It's dark money. And, you just, what are you going to do? Well, a reporter with the Post-Dispatch went a little bit further. I'm going to show you what he did on the Missouri Ethics Commission website. So he said, well, MEC, let me find out what I can see from this organization. So you can do one of these advanced searches. Instead, now I'm going to search for the contributor. So I know that the contributor is some kind of corporation, the EC1 fund. And I am going to do a search for any amount of money that they spent in 2019. Just to show you that this happened, all right? So I do a search. Pop up, blocked, click that darn thing. And now it's going to show me that it donated 2 places, one of them being the Missouri Opportunity PAC. That is the name of the Attorney General's PAC. The other one is Believe in Life and Liberty Bill PAC. It's a different PAC. And it gave him $10,000. And you can see the office and all of this stuff, but you don't see too much more. You can't click. There's nothing for you to click on here. Okay, well, so one thing that you can do is if you know it's a corporation, you can go to a different website. Every corporation in their states, they've got to organize what's called articles of incorporation, usually with their states, some state designated office. Oftentimes, that's the Secretary of State of whatever state you live in. Corporate law is usually done at the state level. There's some federal regulations on some things, but the incorporation side of it is done at the state level. So you can go to the Missouri Secretary of State's website and search for corporations, and I'm going to show you how to do that. So if you go to the Secretary of State's website, this is the main site right here. There's a business services section right at the top, and you can do a business search. So you click on that. Business name, here we go, EC1 Fund. See if it comes up with anything. Sometimes it can be a little bit finicky with the naming, so you just have to be careful, maybe try a couple things, but there it is. Wonderful. So you see it right there on the website. Here, this is a hyperlink, so you can click on it. It will take you to the page for them. Again, you can see the corporation. And now you see that's the exact same address. Let's see if I can pull that up for you again. 165 North Merrimack. That is the exact same address here listed for their registered agent. For those of you who do not know too much about corporate law, you can have a registered agent, which is somebody who is hired to accept your mail, to be there in case you get served, you did something wrong and the court's looking for you. They can be your address. And so that's what they did here. This isn't even the address of the corporation necessarily. It is the address for their hired registered agent. So again, not so much transparency. So if we go here, you can see that there are filings that you can click on. And here's where you see they changed the registered agent a bunch of times, and there's a creation document, there are articles of organization. And if you click View Document, you'll be able to get some information from them about how they were created. So you see the EC1 Fund LLC, it's a corporation, they had a registered agent when they started. You'll get some information on some contact folks, the organizers, a law firm was involved in this. And that's about all you get to see. And you can try to contact them, but good luck. And in fact, when the reporter did contact the lawyers that he found associated with, no one told him anything. I mean, they're lawyers. It's their job. They've got attorney-client privilege, so they didn't tell him anything. What do you do? Is it a dead end, or are we done? No. Here's what this reporter did. He went back to the Ethics Commission. Okay, so this was our search for any spending from the EC1 fund in 2019. He did one search in 2018. All right, same thing, EC1 fund, I just changed the year, no big deal. Click the search button. Oh, my pop-up again. Don't forget your pop-up. And now he could see that it donated to some other folks. One of them, Steve Stenger, he was the county executive in St. Louis County, who went down in a big corruption scandal very recently. And here's CLPAC. This is actually another dark money type of organization where they hide the names of their donors, so they've been associated with them as well. and then you can see the name of a state senator. And so sometimes, you might be an elected official. Sometimes you might not know where this money's coming from, or you do, and you know the people, and you just thought, oh, well, this is okay, and not knowing everything else they're doing. I don't know. I can't really tell you too much about this, but I can tell you that the reporter called this senator. And when he did, the senator said, well, what you need? And he said, well, can I tell you, I need to figure out who the EC1 Fund LLC is. Do you know who they are? And the senator said, well, can you hold on for a second? And the reporter said, sure. And then he comes back on the phone. He said, oh, yeah, sure, that's Joe. Joe who? Joe McKee, also known as Paul Joseph McKee III, who is the son of Paul Joseph McKee II, because that's how that works. Paul McKee is a developer in the St. Louis area, and I use that in quotation marks because he has a whole bunch of property that he has bought in the St. Louis area. And if you've been driving in primarily North St. Louis City, you see properties that aren't doing so hot, that are crumbling, and oftentimes they are owned by Paul McKee. And he's sitting on them, trying to get city money and other money and all of this money. He took a lot of money from the state. So when he said, hey, I'm going to buy this property, I'm going to develop it, he would then go and apply for tax credits from the state. And when he did, he'd show them the purchase paperwork. Here, I bought the property. Here it is. And then they look at it and they say, oh, you're right. Okay, stamp it. Go ahead. Tax credits for you. Sometimes he wouldn't actually buy the property. I mean, he would have the paperwork that said he bought it, but he would never give over money to the seller. He'd take the paperwork, he'd go to the state would stamp it. Oh, great, here's your tax credits. And then he'd just give the property back to the person that he bought it from. But he would never return the tax credits. In total, he took over $40 million in tax credits from the public and didn't return them. That seems pretty bad, right? And so something probably should happen about that. Well, in fact, it did. Our former Attorney General, the one that we had right before this one, Josh Hawley, who's now a United States Senator, took Paul McKee and his corporation to court. They went to court, and he said, look, I want this money back. It was the initiation of the whole thing. It could have reached all these different claims, and was for millions of dollars. Okay, well, Josh Hawley is, like I said, no longer the Attorney General. Shortly after that, we had a new Attorney General, our current one. He was appointed by the governor. The governor put him into that position. The governor happened to take some money from Paul McKee and his associates. The current Attorney General took money from Paul McKee and Paul McKee's corporations and Paul McKee's lawyers. And in fact, when he was in the state Senate, he pushed to make it even easier for Paul McKee to apply for these tax credits. So now he's the Attorney General. He's got this active case ongoing against Paul McKee's corporation. And within about 6 months of him taking over as Attorney General, that case that could have reached potentially $40+ million settled for a little over $300,000. Less than 1% of what we, the people, were owed in Missouri. And then he took a donation from them through the EC1 Fund LLC. And the only reason that we know that he took money from Paul McKee's kid is because a state senator screwed up on the telephone with a reporter. The problem with dark money is that far too often, the person giving the money sure knows where it's coming from. It's their money. The person receiving that money, the candidate or the official receiving that money, writes them thank you cards and knows where it's coming from. But the public has no idea. That's dark money. That's why it's very important for us to get rid of it. That's what it took. You're going to just see it on the platform, all of this Missouri Ethics Commission stuff that I just showed it to you. You'd never see that from there. Thank goodness for investigative reporters. Support your local newspaper, please. At the same time that investigation was going on, I was also looking at the Attorney General's office because I had a lot of questions about this spending months before all of this information came out. I was wondering a whole lot about it. Well, come to find out, that the Attorney General kept telling everybody, well, I've got this conflict of interest policy. It is the best conflict of interest policy ever. So I asked for it. And they gave it to me. And I looked at it, and it said, well, one of the things that we will do is we will look at the donations coming in to the Attorney General to make sure that we're not, having any of these problems, no conflict of interest, no investigations. So I said, great, let me see the audits. The answer was they'd never done one. And so that was also in the Post-Dispatch, part of that same story that came out just after. Literally, our Attorney General was taking money from somebody that he was investigating and is not enforcing his conflict of interest policy whatsoever. Hopefully that's changed. Doesn't sure seem like it. So that has been going on in Missouri. And it's something that we can change if we'd like to. And I'll show you what I'm talking about. I'll go back to our friend, the browser. And I'm going to go to our website. On our website, yes, I could, pitch and say, hey, vote for me. Please do that and support the campaign. But I'm going to show you something on the Solutions tab right here towards the top. If you click on Solutions, you'll see a lot of the plans that we have proposed as a campaign. We're trying to make very detailed ones with community input so that you actually know what you're voting for and against in all of this. So you can see we've got some plans, contemporary ones for the coronavirus and everything else. Scam calls, protecting workers from misclassification, ethics reform. So you will see, for example, in the ethics reform one, what our plan is around that conflict of interest policy. And then we've got a big plan to end dark money corruption. If you click on any of these, it will take you to a new tab. It will take you to a description of what our plan is. And so this is the one for dark money. It's got a little graphic that explains how it works and everything else. You're very welcome to use that. And here are the plans for how we can do it. And this goes through exactly how the Attorney General right now can enforce the law to prevent dark money spending to buy our government. I mean, it's his job to do that. Well, there are other prohibitions in the Constitution to prohibit the use of dark money spending. Other things that we can do is also pass the End Dark Money Act, which is something that I wrote with a lot of input from other folks. And, certainly under the circumstances right now, I don't expect this to move very much in this legislative session. This is the second year that it has been proposed. We are hoping to do that. So we could pass a law. And you're saying, well, hold up. You just said that it was the law already prohibits this dark money stuff anyway, and it should be enforced. So why do we need another law? Well, what it does, the current law allows the Attorney General to enforce it and to go after it. The situation that we're in is when the Attorney General is benefiting from dark money and doesn't want to enforce the law. What can we do? We the people do. I went to court. I tried to fight it in court as much as I possibly could, but I'm not an elected official, so I don't have as much power as the Attorney General does. The End Dark Money Act is one that's based on what other states have done, but it would require candidates to report the original sources of their donations. So that way, even if the Attorney General isn't doing his job, you could have a Secretary of State through the election laws, a prosecutor, or the Missouri Ethics Commission enforce the laws and require that. So unfortunately, our current system has shown there's a big gap in our checks and balances when our Attorney General doesn't want to do his job. And this would be a fix for those situations. So that's what the End Dark Money Act would do. Oftentimes I get questions about, well, if I'm just donating, I don't want my name to be all out there, but I want to support this nonprofit organization doing great work. Wonderful. In that same proposal, if you'd like your money just to go to the nonprofit's actual charitable work, of which there are many 501c4s that do great work in our country, if you just want to do that charitable work, great. We don't have to see your name. Let it go there. But if you're trying to support that organization influencing our elections, I believe very strongly we should have transparency. The Supreme Court of the United States of America agrees, and we've had many cases on that issue already. So that's something that already is supported by case law. We just need to pass the law or get an attorney general who's going to do his job, and I know a guy who's ready to do it. So, wow, that was how this stuff works. So we just went through all of that. It took a little bit longer than I thought. I was trying to go for an hour. We went over a little bit. So yeah, if you do have any questions or you see this come up or anything, please let me know. I hope that this is a helpful tool for you to explore and figure out how to track dark money, or if you're working on a campaign, or if you're seeing candidates out there who are doing things and you're a little bit worried about. This is a great way for we, the people, to have some accountability in the system. And, I'll still be out there fighting dark money and trying to expose as much of it as I possibly can. Unfortunately, I can't do it all over because I'm one person. But as Attorney General, one of my main priorities will be to make sure our government serves us, that it's accountable to us. And I think a very big piece of that is making sure that our policies reflect the needs of the people. And I've been working with kids for a long time, and I can't tell you how frustrated I've been to see that year after year after year, things just don't change. It's because the kids and their parents, they don't have the money to influence somebody's desire to be elected to an office. That should not be the determinant factor in whether we pass a policy in Missouri or not. And so that's why I feel very strongly that we need an attorney general who's going to fight corruption and prevent stuff like this from happening. And so that's why I'm running, and I'm really excited about it. So please go ahead, leave your comments. I'll make sure to go in there and type in and anything that you see and answer as much as you have. But I really appreciate you being here. Thank you for watching. I hope this has been helpful. I'll give you a couple other things. I'll plug you while I'm here because we've got some other things going on right now. So if we... later this week, we are going to be doing a little get-together, and this will be on Zoom. But if you've got a phone you want to call in, that's fine too. We're having a Parks and Rec reunion party that will be on Thursday, April 30th, at 7 o'clock. So at 7:30 is when the show starts, but we'll be here, and we'd love to have you. So you can just go to the website and register right there. You probably saw it if you were looking real close. Just click the button and you can register. We'll also stream that a bit out there too. So if you want to join a different way, that's okay too. But we'd love to see your costume. So please bring your costume and whatever else you'd like, and we'll watch together and hang out for a bit. And if you would like to help us spread this message and the word, please, oh my goodness, please, follow us on social media. You saw the chart that I showed you earlier. We are extremely efficient on what we're doing, and we'd love to have you do that. So here is all the places that we're at. We are on Twitter. Come follow me. I try to make it a good time on there. YouTube, we've got our videos up there. If you subscribe over there, you'll know when the next videos come, and that also helps us get the word out on that platform too. Facebook, goodness, you all have been wonderful on Facebook. If you can, please invite your friends to join the Facebook group, the page, to like the page, to follow the page, and I'll put a little tutorial soon about how to do that again, but we've got some that are already on that page. But goodness, that's a great way for us to get the word out, and I know you've all been so helpful. And also on Instagram, and especially if you like dog photos, that's a great place to go. So, and then the website. You can see all of this stuff at the website. All the links are over there. So, folks, I really appreciate you spending your night with me. If you got any questions, I see you all out there. Thank you all so much for coming in, and I hope you all stay safe. If there's anything you need, let me know. Thanks.